Yeah, is my screen visible right now?
Not yet. No.
Yes.
Now,
Now it's yeah,
What can you see?
the Hatha Yoga in visual form. Okay.
Yes, yes.
okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So let's start then. So I'll just give the introduction. So welcome all. We are close to around 21 people now. So let's start.
Okay, so my namaste to all yogis and yoginis. Myself Jaya, and I have recently cleared my L3 exam. I'm just somehow managed to clear my L3 exam. So here to present on the topic, I think Hatha Yoga, introduction to Hatha Yoga. So
One
and
minute. One minute. Devi, who are not speaking, can you put them on the mute? I think you were able to do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You just check it out. Yeah. Yeah. Please continue.
yeah, just want to make it clear that I'm not in any way. I'm not an expert on any topic of yoga. Just I'm like a learner like all of you. So please pardon me if I do any mistake or not able to answer any of your questions or doubts. So yeah, let's go ahead. And these slides are given by Dhananjay. So thanks to him. See, and yeah, let's start. So today we are going to talk about Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is like other parts. There are many parts of yoga: Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, like that. Raj Yoga and also Hatha Yoga is one of the path of yoga. So Hatha is a word which is formed out of two Bij mantra Ha and Tha, and Ha represents the sun, and Tha represents the moon. Similarly, there are many other ways we can represent her and her, which one is her is also represented as Pingala, which is the Pingala Nadi in our body, and Tha is represented as in Ida, the Ida Nadi. And similarly, Ha is also pranic energy in our body, Tha is the Mansik energy in our body, and then Ha is the Atma, and Tha is Paramatma. And we have to balance her and her, the both the energies, and we have to uh, yeah, we have to bring a balance in both of these energies. So going ahead, yeah, the sun energy, moon energy that I explained. So Hatha Yoga, it has been more developed from 6th century to 11th century, but it is said that it is much older than that, but it has been more developed between 6th and 11th century. And it is more influenced by Tantra and Buddhist system and even Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And the how you can see there are many similarities when you go through Hatha Yoga text. There are many similarities from Tantras and Patanjali Yoga Sutra that you will find out. So like if from Tantras, there are many these bandhas and all, the Shodhan Kriyas and Shat Kriyas, they are very much taken from Tantras. And Yam Niyam, these are also taken from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and they have been made from 5 to 10. They have increased, Swami Swatmaram has increased to number 10 in Hatha Yoga Pradipika. So yeah, and it is said that Hatha Yoga, the very first yogi of Hatha Yoga is said to be the Adi Yogi, Lord Shiva, and he only, I think that's how we have been explained, that he's the one who came up with Hatha Yoga, and he explained to Devi Parvati. And Shiv Samhita, actually the very important text of Hatha Yoga, is about the conversation between Lord Shiva and Devi Parvati. So from there it started, and then Lord Matsendra, Sage Matsendra Nath, he has taken it forward, And from him, Guru Gorakshnath, he has made it more and more popular in the general public. So they all, and these all Mahantanath, Gorakshnath, and Chapatinath, there are many gurus, and they all belong to Nath tradition. They all belong to Nath tradition. Yes. So next is aim and objective of science of Hatha Yoga. So the objective of Hatha Yoga is uh, we have to uh, we have to through the asanas and shatkriyas and bandhas and mudras, we have to make our body ready for the spiritual journey that we have to what it's like we have to um, is we have to burn our body in the heat of the asanas and the bandhas and mudras and pranayam. This way, we get our body ready for the spiritual path, which is quite long, and we need that stability in our body for that. So, Hatha Yoga helps in that, and it definitely leads to self realization. The ultimate aim of Hatha Yoga is self realization, but where it leads to Raj Yoga, and Raj Yoga leads to self realization. So that's why we also call that Hatha Yoga is a ladder to Raj Yoga. So this is actually a very important question which sometimes comes in exam for definitely for L1 people, that what is the exact word is uh, Hatha Yoga leads to is a ladder to what? Then the answer should be Raj Yoga. Now, yeah, the Hatha Yoga basically works on balance, creating balance in our body, balance in our energies. So, and clearing the blockages in our nadis, and there are, as we all know, there are 72,000 nadis in our body, and in a normal routine we believe that it's mostly blocked by the impurities, and through the asana, pranayam, and shat kriyas we clear the blockages in these nadis and try to bring balance in these nadis. And that's how the ida and pingla, the two main nadis, they come into balance. And when ida and pingla comes into balance, they start flowing into sushumna. So yeah, so the balance between physical and mental energies, balance between the nadis, yeah, purification of energy passages. That's how the Hatha Yoga works. And then yeah, so now I'm going to talk about the Hatha Yoga, important Hatha Yoga texts. This is actually what more exam point of view thing. There are few very important Hatha Yoga texts that we all should know. One is the most important Hatha Yoga text is Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is written by Yogi Swatmaram in 15th century AD, and there are mentioned 84 asanas, but 15 asanas are mainly described by Swami Swatmaram, and out of those 15, only 4 are the most important asanas. And same in Ghirendra Samhita, the second most important book for Hatha Yoga text, and it's written in 17th century, written by Maharishi Ghirendra. And one important thing to remember is this book is a conversation between Maharishi Ghirendra and Chand Kapalik. He's a king, and he's talking to Maharishi Ghirendra, and then in this conversation he's giving all the important information about Hatha Yoga. So the number of asanas he has mentioned there are 64, but the only described as, see, the number of asanas mentioned, as far as I understand, these are not important to remember. What you need to remember is in Hatha Yoga Pradipika 15 asanas has been described. Out of 15, 4 are most important. Same in Gharin Samhita, 32 asanas are described, and out of 32 only 4 are most important, and those four are actually common in all of these. Same way, Shiv Samhita, the author is unknown, but there are four asanas which has been described, and has to be said that they are the most important asanas. Same in Hatratnavali, it is written by Srinivas Yogi, written in 16th century, and 84 asanas. The maximum number of asanas are mentioned in Hatratnavali. Patanjali Yoga Sutra, as you all know, it is written by sage Patanjali in 4th century AD, and there are no asanas mentioned in that book. So let's talk about Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is written by Swami Swatmaram. It is also, this book is also known as Chaturanga Yoga because it has 4 chapters. The Hatha Yoga has been divided by Swami Swatmaram in 4 angas, 4 different parts. So that's why it is called Chaturanga Yoga. We can also say why Patanjali Yoga Sutra is not called Chaturanga Yoga. We can get confused, but we should always remember that only Hatha Yoga Pradipika is called Chaturanga Yoga. This can be confusing when it comes in exam. If there is a Patanjali Yoga Sutra is also an option, you might get confused, but we should remember that only Hatha Yoga Pradipika is called as Chaturanga Yoga. And the 4 names of chapters are Asan, Pranayam, Mudra and Bandh, and Nadanusandhan. So in first chapter, Yogi Swatmaram, he starts, actually he starts with explaining how the place where the yogi stays, it is, I don't remember exactly the name. Let me check. Then he has an exact name for it, Kutia or something, where the yogi resides and how it should be. The place, the around surrounding and all, how it should be. He has explained that, and then after that he has started explaining all the asanas in very first chapter. And as you can see on the screen, there are all 15 mentioned asanas. The most 4 important asanas in Hatha Yoga are Siddhasan, Padmasan, Simhasan, and Bhadrasan. These 4 are important in all the texts. They have mentioned these 4 asanas. So whenever it is asked that which are the 4 asanas most important in Hatha Yoga, these are those 4: Siddhasan, Padmasan, Simhasan, and Bhadrasan. And we also need to remember the number of asanas given in each text, especially in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Girin Samhita, and somewhat in Hatha Ratnavali. That number also we should remember. It is important for exam point of view. Number of asanas and which are the most 4 important asanas. And it's always easy to remember when you memorize the shloka, because see how it is said: Siddham Padmam Tata Singham Bhadram Veti Chatushtayam Shreshtam Tatrapi Cha Sukhe Teshte Siddhasane Sada. So in just one shloka, they have mentioned all 4 names, the most important names of the asanas, and it would be really helpful just to, if you'll remember this shloka. So next is Yam. This is also mentioned in the first chapter of Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And yamas, as we all know, there are only 5 yamas in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, but in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, there are 10 yamas and 10 niyamas. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there are only 5 yam and niyams. In Hatha Yoga Pradipika, there are 10 niyams and 10 niyams. So definitely those 5 are included, and plus 5 more they have given. There is also one shloka. If you'll just memorize that shloka, you'll be done with the yamas. And it's ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, brahmacharyam, shamadriti, dayajama, mitahara, shaucham, chaiva, yamadasha. In one go, you'll be able to remember all the 10 yamas. In this, we all know ahimsa means non-violence, satya means truthfulness, asteya is not stealing, brahmacharya continence, Shama is forgiveness, Dhriti is endurance, Daya is compassion, Arjav is honesty, Mitahar is Mitahar. Actually, there's a whole definition of Mitahar. It's Mostly it is susnigdha madhuraharam. Two most important qualities of mitahar is it should be well greased with ghee, and it should be sweet in the nature. And shout is cleanliness. So it's I would suggest to remember both Hindi, sorry, the Sanskrit and the English version of these yamas and niyamas, because the question might come in Hindi or in the Sanskrit name also, or in English name also. So if you'll remember both of them, it will be easier for you to answer. Same is with niyamas. The tapasantos astikyam dhanam ishwar pujanam siddhanta vakya shravanam vimati cha japahutam niyama dash samprokta yoga shastra visharade. This is also, if you'll memorize, it will become easier for you to remember. So tapas is persistence or perseverance. Santosh is contentment, patience. Astikya, belief in God. Dan is generosity. Ishwar pujanam, worship of Ishwar. It's Siddhanta Vakisham, listening to scriptures. V is remorse or an acceptance of one's past. Mati is intellect. Jap is mantra repetition, and Hutam is yagya sacrifice. Now, the Badhak Tattva and Sadhak and Badhak Tattva is also mentioned in first chapter. For L2 people, it's important if they, it would be really beneficial if they remember what is given in which chapter, what is mentioned in which chapter. So in first chapter only Badhak and Sadhak Tattva, it's important for L1 also that they should know what are Sadhak and Badhak Tattva. The name of chapter of the Hatyo Pradipika, then Yam Niyam and Sadhak Badhak Tattva. These are also important for L1 people. Badhak Tattva are basically those elements which make you which are like hurdles in your journey of Hatha Yoga or in your spiritual journey. So there are 6 Badhak Tattva and 6 Sadhak Tattva. They can cause, if they are there in your life, then it can be a cause of your failure in path of yoga. Are Atyahara Pyasasva Pajalpo Nimagra Jansangascha Lolyam Cha Shadbiri Yogo Vinashyati. It's the shloka again, if you'll memorize, it will become too easy for you to answer such questions. So atyahar is too overeating, prayas is over exertion. If you too much exert yourself, you'll not be able to perform better in path of yoga. Then prajalp is too much talking, too much over talkativeness is even in our social life also is not very appreciated. So same way it is in path of yoga. Then niyamagraha is over adherence to rule, which we can understand like this, that if you are too much into rules, you are not seeing the situation, not improvising, then it will be like how we say lakir ka fakir, that we should not be like every day if I have to do this, no matter no matter what I have to do that way only. You cannot survive like that. You have to change according to the situation. Then Jansangha is too much public interaction. It even means that you have to be selective with the people whom you meet and you surround yourself, because definitely it influences your personality. Then lol is fickleness, instability, unsteadiness. Like this minute you're doing something, next minute you're doing something else. It should not be like that. You should be stable in your behavior. Then now, yeah, this is also talking about that only. Going to next page. Yeah, Sadhak Tat. We are talking about Sadhak Tat. These are the qualities which a yogi should develop in the path of yoga, which will be very helpful to go ahead in the path of yoga. So they are Utsaha, Sahasa, Dhairya, Tattva Jnana, Nishchayat, Jansangha Parityaga, Chadbir Yoga, Prasiddhati. These two shloka, actually Badak and Sadak Tatu shlokas, were very similar to me for me to memorize. I used to get uh, confused only the prasiddhati and vinashati used to be the only differentiating factor for me. So yeah, so the six sadhak tattvas are utsaha, which is enthusiasm, which we need to do any work, not only yoga. To succeed in any path, we need to have enthusiasm, utsaha. Then sahas is courage. Dharya is perseverance. Tattvajnana, discriminative knowledge, that is also very common and which is very much important to do any kind of job. Then Nishchaya is determination. Jansangha Parityaga. This is again, you should stay away from the negative influence, should stay away from the people who do not believe in yoga. I think it's understandable for everyone. So next is Mitahar. सुस्निग्ध मधुराहार चतुर्थंश विभजित bhujite shiv sampritya mitahara sochate. So this shloka itself gives the definition of mitahar. It says that it should be well greased, and it should be sweet in its nature, and the 1/4 part of your stomach should be left empty, and the food should be eaten, should yeah, the important quality of food should be, or it should be agreeable, easy to digest, yeah, agreeable for your body, and 1/4 part of your stomach should be left empty, and it should be eaten as an offering to Lord Shiva. So with this diagram also we can understand how it is said that 1/4 is left empty, 1/3 is 1/4 is water, and half is food. So now, patya apatya. Patya is the prescribed food for a yogi. Apatya is a prohibited food for yogi. And what is prescribed is well sweetened, greasy with milk and ghee, butter, which may increase quality of the body according to his desire. So these are the food which a yogi is prescribed to eat. And then what is prohibited are bitter food, sour, too salty, hot, and green vegetables, fermented food, oily, and the sesame seed, rapeseed, intoxicating, the very easiest answer is liquor, fish, meat. These things are garlic, onion, and asafoetida prohibited for a yogi. Also, yes, reheated food, dry food, sour food, these food are prohibited. Now comes the second chapter, which is about pranayam. Now, Asht Kumbhak, 8 Kumbhak, in Hatiyog Pradipika, there are Kumbhakas, instead of pranayam, Kumbhak word has been used, and there has been 8 Kumbhak mentioned, which are Surya Bhedanam, Ujjayi, Sitkari, Sitali, Tata, Bhastrika, Brahmari, Multa, Plamani, Tashta Kumbhaka. Again, in one shloka, all 8 Kumbhakas have been mentioned. And um, yes, these are 8 Kumbhakas, and now there are 3 parts of pranayam, or 3 types, which is Purak, Rechak, and Kumbhak, which is also important to remember. Purak is inhalation, Rechak is exhalation, and Kumbhak is inhalation. Sorry, Kumbhak is retention. So these are 3 parts of pranayam, and again, 8 kinds of pranayam have been explained by Swami Svatmaram in Hatiyog Pratipika. So, and I think Keval Kumbhak, for L2 people, Keval Kumbhak is like, it's important for them to know that if the perfection of pranayam is attained when you attain Keval Kumbhak, which is like it 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 is very naturally it happens. No one can practice it. It just happens when someone becomes perfect in pranayam. In second chapter only, they talk about Shat Karmas. There are 6 cleansing techniques which are named as Shat Karma, which are Dhoti Basti, Neti, Tratak, Nauli, Kapal Bhati. There is a particular shloka for it to remember. That is Dhoti Basti Tatha Neti Tratakam Naulikam Tatha Kapal Bhatis Chaitani Shatkarmani Prachakshate. So, Neti, one thing which is important to remember, even for L2 and L1 both, that in HYP, in Hatyog Pradipika, there are 6 Shatkarmas. There is no subdivision of these Shatkarma in HYP, Hatyog Pradipika. There is a simple Neti they have taught, and then Basti. Yeah, there is no subdivision of Shatkarmas in Hatyog Pradipika. Whereas in Gharen Samhita, there is lot of many subdivision in all these Shatkarmas. So it's easy to remember in Hatyog Pradipika, just you have to remember the name. And Dhauti is the cleaning of stomach. And Basti is the cleaning of the, the Basti is cleaning of the excretory areas. Yes, the excretory areas. The Neti is the cleaning of the uh, esophagus, not esophagus, as actually just nasal area and forehead. And Tratak is actually for eyes, and it affects your Agya chakra. Then Nauli is again the cleaning of intestinal area. And Kapal Bhati is for forehead, the frontal lobes. It uh, cleanses the frontal lobes. Uh, yeah, so in this chart we can see how karma affects which body part and which chakra. So Dhauti is for esophagus and stomach. It is related to esophagus, and esophagus is the canal which joins your throat and your stomach. That is called esophagus. So Dhauti is for that, and it also affects your Vishuddhi and Anahat chakra, which is quite understandable because Vishuddhi is in your throat and Anahat is in your heart. So it affects Vishuddhi and Anahat. Then same is for Basti. It cleanses your colon. Sorry, I forgot that term. So Basti cleanses the colon, and it affects Manipur, Swadhisthana, and Muladhara. Then Shankar Prakshalan, I think Shankar Prakshalan doesn't exist in Hatyog Pradipika. Only Dhauti, Basti, Neti, Nauli, Tratak, Kapal Bhati.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So for exam perspective, this is the only information you need to know about Dhauti, Basti, Neti, Nauli, Tratak, and Kapal Bhati. Agnisar and Shankar Prakshalan are in Ghiren Samhita actually. So yeah, let's go ahead with that. And then the third chapter talks about mudra and bandhas. Mudras are the physical, and mudras are in general, including facial expression and hand hand gestures and physical gestures. They all include in mudras. And bandhas are pranic energy locks. So mudras and bandhas, they together control the pranic energy, and which enhances the effect of your pranayam practice. So there are 6 mudras and 4 bandhas which are mentioned in Hatyog Pradipika. 6 mudras are Mahamudra, Mahabandho, Mahavedash, Khechari, Udyanam, Moolabandhash, Bandho, Jalandhara Vida. So there are see Mahamudra, Mahabandh, Mahaved, and Khechari. These are 4 um, mudras, 4 mudras. And then actually in Hatyog Pradipika, mudras and bandhas, they have been called together, uh, like they are in just one chapter. They have not differentiated in mudras and bandhas. So Mahamudra, Mahabandh, Mahaved, Khechari, and Viparit Karni, and Vajroli, the Shakti Chal. These are 6 mudras. Mahamudra is also a physical mudra. Mahabandh is also counted in mudras. Then Mahaved is also a physical mudra. Khechari is a facial mudra, and Udyan Bandh is a bandh, which is actually Udyan Bandh is a stomach lock. Uh, yeah, abdominal lock. And Mool Bandh is root lock, and Jalandhar Bandh is chin lock. These three are bandhas, and the fourth bandha is the Mahabandh, which when a person uh, uses all these three locks, Jalandhar Bandh, Mool Bandh, and Udyan Bandh at the same time, that is called Mahabandh. It is no different from all these three. When you practice all these three at the same time, it is called Mahabandh. So that's how these are the four bandhas, and rest are mudras, which are Mahamudra, Mahaved, Khechari, Moolband, sorry, not Moolband, Viprit, Vajroli, Shakti Chalani. These six are mudras. These are the pictures to explain the mudras and thus. Let me check if there's something else that I need to share. Yeah. So next we'll go to Nadanusandhan chapter. Nadanusandhan chapter talks about the nadas and the four different stages of Nadanusandhan. The very important four important stages of Nadanusandhan. This is more relevant to L2. I think L1 this will not be asked from you. Only L2 people need to remember that there are four stages of Nadanusandhan, which is Arambha, Ghat, Parichay, and Nishpatti. And in the Arambha Avastha, Ghata Avastha, Parichay Avastha, Nishpatti Avastha. So when a person starts to practice Nadanusandhan, the very beginning first stage is called Arambha Avastha. And we need to remember that in every avastha, in every stage, the Kundalini, it pierces one granthi. It is called granthi, and there are actually three granthis in our Sushumna Nadi. And but there are four stages. So actually, only in three stages, the Kundalini pierces the three granthis, which are Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra Granthi. Brahma Granthi is located somewhere near Muladhara Chakra. Then Vishnu Granthi is located somewhere near Anahat Chakra, and the Rudra Granthi is located near Agya Chakra. So this is something to remember from exam perspective. It might come in exam that in actually Parichaya Avastha, there is no penetration of any Granthi. In Arambha Avastha, the Kundalini penetrates the Brahma Granthi. In Ghata Avastha, the Kundalini penetrates Vishnu Granthi. Then Parichaya Avastha, there is no penetration. Then in Nishpatti Avastha, the Kundalini penetrates Agya Chakra, the Rudra Granthi, and it goes towards the Sahasrara Chakra. Now, as we can see, it has been explained in Hatha Yoga Pratipika the symptoms of Arambha Avastha, Ghata Avastha, Parichaya Avastha, Nishpatti Avastha. There, Nada, as we all know, Nada is actually different sounds. So, in different stages, you will hear different kind of sounds. So, Arambha Avastha will be associated with tinkling of bells. And yeah, here we can see that Brahma Granthi is being penetrated in this avastha. This is actually quite nice table, which will be easy to remember. Yeah, I think this all I have explained. I think the name of the sound, it's not that important to remember, but yeah, you can go through it. Only thing you need to remember that the sound becomes finer and finer with every stage. The From Arambha Avastha, it's more in gross form and becomes finer, yeah, and by Nishpatti Avastha, it becomes like sound of veena or sound of flute. Now, next is, yeah, this it talks about Nad. I think this is not very much with the exam perspective. It's good to know these things, but I think it's not important as in exam perspective. Yeah, here in this picture, although the place where they have shown is not exactly where it is, but Aramba Avastha, the Granthi which is being penetrated is somewhere near Muladhara Chakra, root chakra. So yeah, don't pay attention to this, but yeah, this information is important. And yeah, in the later shlokas, these other sounds have been mentioned. Like every person has a different. What Swami Swatmaram says, that every person has a different experience in Nadanusandhan. It is you cannot compare with other person that that kind of sound that person is hearing, that kind of nada, and even I should hear that, but it will not happen with you. You will hear something else. So he has mentioned certain number of nadas which a person might hear any of them in different stages. Yeah, these are also not important from exam perspective, but definitely it will be good if you'll go through it. So next we will go to Ghiren Samhita. Ghiren Samhita is pretty straightforward book.
Yeah, so Garen
It's
Sanhita is only for L2, just kidding. L1 is only Hati Yoga Pratipatti.
okay, yeah. Kiran Samhita, yeah, but a few things that even L1 people should know, that it's a Saptang Yog. This book is also, this text is also known as Saptang Yog because it has 7 chapters in it. And L1 people should remember the names of the chapters, which is, yeah, just a second. The 7 names of the chapters are, just a second. First chapter name is Shatkarm, then second is Asan, then Mudra and Bandh, then fourth is Pratyahar, fifth is Pranayam, sixth is Dhyan, and seventh is Samadhi. This is something that you even Elven people should know. That first information that Giren Samhita is a Hatha Yoga text. Then second information is it is a conversation between Rishi Giren and Jandakapali, and it is also known as Saptang Yog, and the 7 names of the chapter, which are I'll repeat once again: chapter 1 Shatkarm, chapter 2 Asan, chapter 3 Mudra and Bandh, chapter 4 Pratyahar, chapter 5 Pranayam, chapter 6 Dhyan, and then 7 is Samadhi. And here yeah, this is also important. The metaphor ghat is ghat actually literally means clay pot, and here in this book ghat word is used for human body. And why it is used, that through the process of these 7 steps, the shatkarm, sorry, the asan, pranayam, shatkarm, and all those 7 stages. Through those stages we cook the our body, like we cook a clay pot and it becomes strong and strengthened to ready to use. That's how we cook our body, or we burn our body in these 7 stages to reach the ultimate goal of samadhi. So now the Shatkarm is for the purification of the body, which is also known as Shodhan. Then Asan brings strength or firmness in the body. Mudra brings steadiness in the body. Pratyahar is attaining courage. Then Pranayam is for the lightness of it, brings lightness to the body. Then Dhyan is a direct perception of Atma. And then Samadhi is detachment and isolation. This is mainly for L2 people, not for L1 people. Then yeah, these are the purpose of each stages. Like Shatkarma is for Shodhan, that's what we mentioned earlier also. Asan is for Drutta or steadiness, strength. And then Mudra is for steadiness, Dharyam, Pratyahar, Dharyam. And Pranayam, Laghavam, Dhyanam for Pratyaksham, and Samadhi for Nirliptam. Now here actually there are many subdivision of Shatkarmas, and which is important for L2 people to remember. So there are four types of dhoti has been explained by Rishi Garind. It's antar dhoti, dant dhoti, hrit dhoti, and mool shodhanam. So these all you need to memorize. Then basti is only of two types, jal basti and sthal basti. Two types of neti, sutra neti and jal neti. Then two types of tratak, antarang tratak, bahirang tratak. Then Noli is Dakshin Noli, Vam Noli, Madhyam Noli, and Noli Chalna, which means if you'll know the actual explanation of it, Dakshin is actually we segregate the stomach muscles in three parts, left, right, and down. And we first of all in Dakshin Noli we uh, particularly concentrate on that left, right, and middle muscles of our stomach, and we try to churn those muscles. And in Noli Chalana, we collectively all these three muscles we try to move. So that's how it is four Nolis: Dakshin, Vam, Madhyam, and Noli Chalana. So all together three will be Noli Chalana. Then number three, there are three types of Kapalbhati. Vat Karma. Vat Karma is the one what we do, which is the popular one these days. And then Vyut Karma is water taken from nose and then taken out from mouth. And then Sheet Karma is you take in water from your mouth and take it out from your nose. This is a good chart to remember. See, Basti is Jal Basti and Stal. It is also known as Stal and Shushk. Both you can use any word. Basically, you need to know that Jal Basti is done with water and Shushk Basti is with air. So like that we can memorize. Now the Dhauti, yeah, actually. Vatsar Vari, the Dhauti are Antar Dhauti, Dant Dhauti, Hrid Dhauti, Mool Shodhanam, and then they have furthermore division as Vatsar, Varisar, Vanisar, Bahishkrit. Yeah, it's quite difficult to memorize, but we have to, at least the names we have to memorize. Now, the second chapter talks about the asanas, and there are 32 asanas in Ghiren Samhita. This is something to remember even for L1 people. You should know number of asanas have been mentioned in Ghiren Samhita, and which are four most important ones. Those are also important to memorize. So now next is mudra. There are more mudra, actually more number of mudras and asanas mentioned in Giren Samhita. There are 25 mudras mentioned in Giren Samhita. No need to remember the names, but yeah, L2 people, if you'll memorize the name, it will be easier. At least go through few times a day so that you'll have an idea when the question comes whether this belongs to Giren Samhita or not. Then there are five kinds of pratyahar. This is definitely important for L2 people. There are five kinds of pratyahar mentioned in Giran Samhita. Just a second. Uh, I'm sorry, I don't remember actually this one. Let me check my book. Yeah, Pratyahar is a very small chapter actually. Basically, what you know about Pratyahar, that that that's the same thing. Pratyahar, we have to bring our senses inwards, and we have to disconnect from the outer world. That is Pratyahar, and five Pratyahar is actually it belongs to each organ, five sense organs which we use to connect from the outer world. Those all those five senses we have to cut off. So there are five kinds of Pratyahar for that. Now, next is pranayam. Pranayam again, it is he has mentioned Maharishi Girendra has mentioned eight kind of pranayam in Giren Samhita, and only it's very much similar to Hatha Yoga Pradipika. The only difference is I think Sahita. Yes, instead of सूर्य भेदन मुज्जाए शीतकारी शीतली तथा मुस्तिका भ्रामरी मुच्चा केवली चष्ट कुंभका. Sahita is a different one. Can someone help me? I don't remember exactly which one replaces which one.
I think Sheetli replaces Sahitya.
Sheetali, instead of Sheetali, Sahita is added in Giran Samhita, right?
Yeah.
No, Sheetkari. Sheetkari. Sheetali is there in the list. So instead of Sheetkari from HYP, Sahita has been added.
Not given in the Hachal Pradipika. Musa is not there.
Sorry?
Musa is also not there in Hachal Pradipika.
Murcha is also right. Right. Thank you so much. Murcha is also not there in Hatha Pradipika. So
Sheetli is there.
instead of Kyavli is there in Hatha Pradipika, but it's not there in Gherin Samhita. Instead of Plavni, there is Murcha. Instead of Chitkari, it is Sahita in Ghiren Samhita. The number of pranayams are same, but two names have been changed. Then then it comes to dhyan. Dhyan has been mentioned here in three kinds of dhyan have been mentioned. One is Thul, then second is Jyoti, and third is Sukshma. So there are three kinds of dhyan. This is how you can remember that there are three kinds of dhyan: Sthul, Jyoti, Sukshma. And the questions might come for dhyan for L2 people, not for L1. And there are six kind of samadhi mentioned in Ghiren Samhita. One is Dhyan Samadhi, then Nad Samadhi, Rasanand Samadhi, Lay Samadhi, Bhakti Yog Samadhi, and Raj Yog Samadhi. So, and it has been it is connected with the certain mudra, which mudra you should practice for which samadhi. So that connection is also important to remember for L2 people. Like dhyan samadhi is by Shambhavi mudra, nad samadhi is by Brahmari mudra, rasanand samadhi is by Khechari, lay samadhi is by Yoni mudra, bhakti yog samadhi is through contemplation on one's deity, and Raj Yoga is by Mano Murcha Mudra. Actually, there is one, yes, this shloka, no, not this shloka, but there is one shloka in Giren Samhita which might help you to memorize this. Come across it, I'll share it in WhatsApp group. I have a list of shloka which I memorized during the exam. So I think if I'll get it, I'll share the number of the which shloka it is to memorize. So again, this is important. If you can memorize this, you can leave this row and you can memorize rest of it. It will be quite helpful. Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Actually, yes, yeah, that's what this is for L1 people. Hatha Yoga Pradipika, you have to focus. Actually, it's very
So this section talks about more of the what you need to get summary from the exam perspective. We just go up, little bit go up.
yeah,
This summary from exam preparation perspective.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. So yeah, it's a summary for exam perspective, and as you can see, for L1 people, you just have to focus on Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Actually, for L1 people, you need to have very surface knowledge of Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Girin Samhita, the names of the chapters, what is mentioned in which chapter, number of kumbhakas in each in both the text, and the number of asanas, name of kumbhakas, and not you don't need to remember the name of asanas for 11 people, just number of asanas and the four most important asanas. You need to know pranayam, which how many kumbhakas have been mentioned, and the name of them. That's it. I think that is enough. And for L2 people, Hatha Yoga, Pradipika and Kiran Samhita plus L1, whatever is mentioned for L1 also, and relationship between Hatha Yoga and Raj Yoga. Ask Anga's comparison table for PYS, H5P and GS. Yeah, so in PYS, there are Ashtanga Yoga, it is Ashtanga Yoga, and then Hatha Yoga Pradipika is Chaturanga Yoga, as we all know, 4 chapters, and Ghiran Samhita is Saptanga Yoga because it has 7 chapters. One thing which has been mentioned, which was mentioned in one of our session during one of our teachers said that actually Ghiran Samhita it nowhere mentions that it is a text of Hatha Yoga. Like in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it often mentions Hatha Yoga. But in Girin Samhita, it never says that they are talking about Hatha Yoga. That's why Hatha Yoga Pradipika is the main text considered for Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga. Just some general knowledge, nothing important for exam. Now, pranayam comparison. Yeah, this is the pranayam comparison table. So, Hatha Yoga Pradipika has 8, and even Ghiran Samhita has 8, but Hatha Yoga Pradipika Sheetkari has replaced by Keval Kumbhak in Giren Samhita, and Plavani has been replaced by Sahit Kumbhak. These are the two difference. Hat Ratnavali, I think it's not very much important for L2 people to remember, and definitely not for L1 people. Yeah, these are comparison of asanas, as you can all see. Um, HYP. Okay, sitting asanas and supine asanas and standing asanas. So these are all common asanas. Yeah, these are something for L2 people actually, not for L1. Definitely not for L1. Ida and Pingala. Yeah, this is how these are the how many ways it has been represented. Ida and Pingala has been represented in so many ways. Ida is moon also, Pingala is sun. And then, yeah, Mukta Triveni, Yukta Triveni, I think it is something important for L2 that Mukta Triveni is the place where these three nadis, Ida, Pingla, and Sushumna, originate from Muladhara. That place is called Mukta Triveni. And where they merge in Agya Chakra is called Yukta Triveni. All three, when they merge in Agya Chakra, where that is called Yukta Triveni. One thing, Rudra Granthi, it is situated in Agya Chakra, which is easy to remember because Rudra is the name of Shiva, Lord Shiva, and it's. I think it's important to know for L2 people that yeah, name of Shiva, and we all know Lord Shiva has his third eye at Agya Chakra, so it's easy to remember. Rudra Granthi is situated in Agya Chakra. Now, yeah, these are the so many ways how Ida and Pingla has been represented, and yeah. Yoga Sutra Patanjali is the classic text described by Raj Yoga, and it's yeah. These are some comparison between Raj Yoga and Hatha Yoga. Definitely, Hatha Yoga is inspired by Raj Yoga, and it leads to Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga is the first ever yoga which came into existence. Uh, this is a story one of our batchmate uh, she came up with, and it's quite creative. And if you can remember this, you will remember all the asanas, 15 names of asanas. Yeah, so I think I'm done. I have added something value to you people, and